Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Brenda. How are you doing?
Okay, just fine.
All right. Are you up very early, or have you been up all night?
No, it's 7:15 in the morning here. I got up at 7 o'clock,
Oh,
as usual. I get up usually about 7:30.
you're an early bird. All right.
Well, that's just normal times.
Well, it's not for everyone. You know, there's night owl people everywhere, in the U.S. and in Europe. I used to be one, but not at the moment. So, but yeah, good for you. So, what did you want to talk about?
Well, what's the latest going on in Flat Earth? I haven't been paying too much attention recently. There have been other things going on.
Well, I don't know. We're just going steady forward, delving bit by bit further into the details of things, especially concerning optics and the structuring the solid, basically refounding of the structure of physics based on actual science. So with the expanding upon the relative density theory, something that I've been working on up front as soon as I switched, and basically start to synchronously build it to make it clear how it all intertwines, basically the structure.
So you believe in relative density.
Believe? It's not about believe. It's about it that it's actually provable scientifically.
Yeah.
That's
Well, yes,
really the point. That's really the point. Because, hey, I know gravity. I get it. I get gravity. There's a lot of misconceptions even within the presupposition of gravity, within the field of science, let's just say colloquially. But I get the foundations of gravity, and yeah, it does function. You can definitely work with it, as it were. So, but it's not provable scientifically. It's foundationally unprovable. It's not something you can correct for, because you can't vary it. It's like a forgotten old error in the original scientific method that's just kind of been purposely overlooked to prevent a serious narrowing down of the speculations that the scientific field would be allowed to engage in. See?
So when you talk about relative density, what is the density relative to?
Relative to the entire spectrum of all things, the entire relative density spectrum.
The entire density spectrum?
Yes. The relative density spectrum.
Well, actually, in physics, relative density means relative to the density of water, right? So an egg floats.
Its surroundings, the material that surrounds it. It's not just water. That's only in Riley's example, basically.
Well, yeah, an egg floats because relative to the density of the water that it's in, right? If it weighs, if it's close to the same, it will float, and if it's denser, it will sink. If it's less dense, it will rise to the top.
Yes.
Right. That's what relative density is.
In relation to the water, it's specifically that. It's not just the egg.
That's how it's defined. Relative density is defined as being relative to water.
No. It's relative to the surrounding material. It's not just to water. I don't know where you're getting this. Could you cite that?
Dictionary?
No,
From the
dictionary. Okay, well, show me.
Any
show
regular
me.
source?
Yeah, no. Don't tell. Show. So
I can't show anything on Skype.
Yes, you can. Of course you can.
I'm not very used to this.
All right. Well, it has a present function. Share screen. It's
It does,
in
huh?
the right bottom corner. It should be right next to the emoticon series and the open conversation cloud. 2 squares, one over the other. Can you find it?
Show screen. And there we go. Relative density or specific gravity.
Hold on,
Same
I'm not
thing,
seeing
same
it.
thing.
I'm not seeing it. You're not presenting. Yeah, I think you're presenting. Yes, okay, now I can see it.
Okay. Relative density or specific gravity is the ratio of the density of a mass of a substance to the density of a given reference material. Specific gravity usually means relative density with respect to water. That's what it means. It's specific gravity. That's what you're talking about.
What is this source? WikiWand.
Oh, WikiWand is a Chrome app that pretties up Wikipedia links. That's all it does.
Okay.
It just makes it look nicer. So that's what it is.
Okay. Right, let me actually reference that then.
Hydrometers are how you measure specific gravity.
Okay.
And that's what you've been talking about this whole time. Relative density is specific gravity. That's what it means.
No, that's not what it is.
Yeah, it is. That's what it means.
Specific.
That's what relative density.
Or specific gravity. Nice. Or specific gravity. Yeah, that's what they put next to it. That's obviously false. Yeah, I know. Wikipedia is full of heliocentric bullshit. But let me read up on this.
But that's just what the word means.
I'm gonna read up on this.
You know, if a substance's relative density is less than 1, then it is less dense than the reference.
Okay,
If greater than 1, it's denser. And if the relative density is exactly 1, then the densities are equal.
Okay.
If the
I want to
reference
see some
material is
original
water,
sources for this. Where is it?
this is just how it's defined.
Yeah. I want to see some sources for this. Because Wikipedia is only... It's basically social media. If you want to see the actual... I'm looking at it. So, fundamentals of fluid mechanics. Right.
Wikipedia is an encyclopedia. It's
hey,
very
come on.
accurate.
Let me read it out. Okay.
Oh, I'm
Induction.
sorry. I didn't know you were reading.
Fluid mechanics again. Thermodynamics, engineering approach. Fluid. This is all specific to fluid mechanics. It seems like it's narrowed down. It seems like it's being narrowed down to that specific field. That's very weird. This is just like Rayleigh's criteria, Airy's disk. How that is... It's just incomplete.
Relative density.
This is not how I learned it in school.
Relative density has nothing to do with fluid dynamics.
Well, look at the sources in Wikipedia. I'll show it to the audience. It's in the freaking Wikipedia. So
Yeah, I'm sure that there are links to that. Sure, but that's not what relative density is.
Hold on, that is the sources for this material. Okay?
Yeah,
So
so
it's
what?
been narrowed. No, that means a lot. That means it has to be put in the context of the sources. So that doesn't exclude the other field. It's just artificially narrowed down by excluding the other regions where it's relevant. Just like what happened with Airy's disk. It's just... It's censored. It's incomplete.
No, it's not.
Yes,
There's no censoring.
yes, it is censorship. It's
Relative density or
censorship of
specific...
information. It
No,
happens.
it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's just a reference. It's where they got. It says the first sentence says relative density or specific gravity, and there's citation 1 and citation 2.
Yeah.
And citation 2 is the one you're talking about, fluids of essentials of fluid mechanics. So they give the cite for claiming that relative density and specific gravity are identical. That's what they're talking about.
Right, so anyone can now look at my screen and see here, fluid mechanics, thermodynamics, fluid mechanics,
Yeah.
fluid mechanics. This is everything about that, more fluid mechanics. What's this? It's in German, I can't read that. Chemistry. This is... It seems just incomplete, sorry.
Well, I don't know what you mean by incomplete. They just give a site for putting
This is
relative
not
density.
the only way you can define relative density.
Well, it's how it's used. That's what it means.
Now that's how
By
it's been portrayed here on Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's how it's used.
Now that's
By
how it's been portrayed here on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I know. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Right, but
That's how
that's
it's
not how it's...
used.
No, it's not. It is also used like this, but it's also used in other ways.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. Because it reaches further than just liquid. In liquid, it is in relation to all matter surrounding it.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
The
is.
term, it says so right here. The term relative density is often preferred in scientific usage. It is defined as the ratio of density of a particular substance with that of water. That's what it means. This is in the very first paragraph. Specific gravity usually means relative density with respect to water. It's the preferred scientific usage, and it's defined as the ratio of density to water.
Absolutely not.
Well, you can just deny things, but it's right in front of you.
Yeah, it's narrowed down. It's a false dichotomy, basically.
There's no dichotomy. What are you talking about?
Well, the other
Dichotomy?
part is missing.
What
The
other
other
part?
parts? Well, the rest, like how gases, for example, also do this. You know?
Gases
a balloon,
do what?
remember? A helium balloon, how it goes up, it's also due to the density.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not in water. See?
You can put
it's
a balloon
missing.
in water.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can put
you
a
can.
balloon-
Oh, yeah, that's really nice. But it's not just water. See what I mean? Doesn't make any sense. There's parts missing.
Well,
It's incomplete. It's irrationally narrowed down.
just a second.
Right. So, if anybody else wants to join, by the way. Oh, Riley wants to join? That's good. I'd love him to join. Let's get you in here, Riley.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, welcome back.
My alarm clock went off.
Are we?
Hey, hello.
I only have about 15 minutes. I've got to be somewhere.
Okay, that's fine.
Hey, Brenda.
Yes.
This specific gravity that you're citing.
You mean relative density?
No. Specific gravity that you're citing. Relative density is my point. You're citing something called specific gravity.
Yeah, that's relative density.
No. You're claiming it's relative density.
They're
What's
the same
difference
thing.
between the two?
There's no difference.
Right. So relative density doesn't have any gravitational constant in it. It's just the relative density of the liquid compared to something else.
It's also called specific gravity.
Problem is, though, there's no gravity in specific gravity, and it's described as an apparent force, not an actual force.
There's no gravity in specific gravity?
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct.
I don't understand how that works.
I know you don't, because you haven't read your citation, have you?
I know, but could you explain to me how
Yeah,
there is no
there's
gravity?
there's no gravity in it, Brenda.
Well, explain it
Nope.
to me.
Explain it to you.
Yeah.
What bit of there's no gravity in your calculation for specific gravity don't you understand?
The part where there's no gravity in specific gravity, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right, you're claiming specific gravity, and it implies that there is a specific gravity in the thing that you're claiming. However, there is no reference to gravity in the maths for specific gravity, and it's described as an apparent force. It's a bit of a problem, that.
So specific gravity is the ratio of the density of something to its reference, which is typically water, right? It's the ratio of the mass of a substance of a reference to a reference, and that's usually water because that's what it's useful for us.
Right. So what? That's my point. But you're calling it specific gravity. There's no gravity in it. It's described as an apparent force, and I'm going to...
Where is it described as an apparent force?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Right.
Yeah, this sounds, this whole relative density, what I'm seeing on Wikipedia sounds to me awfully like a straw man hijacking of relative density.
No, they're just two different, they're just two terms. They just mean the same thing.
So I've literally
Right,
got
so that's exactly my point, Brenda.
No, it's perfectly okay to have, have two different
To
words
have a
for
straw
thing.
man, to obviously...
That's not a straw man.
Yeah, but
That's
you just
that's
admitted that it's
guys,
basically not the
listen.
same relative density, so that's...
Guys, listen, I've only got 3-4 minutes. I've got to leave. So let me get
That's
this,
fine.
let me address this point, and then I've got to go. Specific gravity is the ratio of the density of a substance to the density of a reference substance. That's my position. Equivalently, it's the ratio of mass of a substance to the mass of a reference substance for the same given volume. Apparent specific gravity, and notice that the word apparent in italics.
Yeah.
Apparent specific gravity is the ratio of a weight of a volume of the substance to the weight of an equal volume of the reference substance.
Yeah,
Right,
the
so-
gravity is there in weight. That is the consequence of gravity is weight.
It doesn't say weight, it says mass.
It says weight. The
Where does
ratio
it say-
of the weight of a volume. You just read it.
No, I didn't say weight, Brenda. You've misheard.
It says,
but it says weight.
The apparent specific gravity is the ratio of the weight of a volume of the substance to the weight of an equal
Right, so-
volume.
There's a difference between mass and there's a difference between weight, isn't there, Brenda?
Yeah, weight is a
Yes,
deduction.
yes.
Weight is deduction. It's not
Weight
specific.
Weight is a
Weight
property
differs
that-
in height. It's ridiculous.
So what you're saying, Brenda, is it's
weight
contradictory.
weight is the property of objects with mass in a gravitational field.
Weight
That's
is
what weight
conceptual,
is.
Brenda.
Well, the thing is,
Brenda,
though-
weight is conceptual. It's not specific. Density
The
doesn't
thing is-
normally change, like the actual mass of things, unless you alter
Let me just say this one last thing and I've got to go. The ratio of the density of a substance to the density of its liquid or its medium is not the same as saying it's the ratio of the weight of a volume against the weight of an equal volume. Because
That's
obviously
literally what your source says. That's literally what it
not my
says.
source. This is your source.
No, you cited this. You said this is what you were meaning by it. That's what you said.
Brenda, it's contradicting itself though. You can't have them as saying one's the relative density of the other thing and then saying in the same sentence it's the relative weight. That's contradictory. You can't have
No,
both.
it's not a contradictory.
And
It says apparent specific
Brenda.
apparent specific gravity is the ratio of the weight of the substance to its reference substance.
Brenda,
in other
Yeah,
words,
it's weight.
it's a deduction.
look, it's also been suggested that this article be merged into relative density.
Yeah,
So it's like this is a deliberate
because
attempt.
they're the same thing.
Yeah, it is, but the problem is relative density doesn't have weight in it. This contradicts itself, Brenda. But listen, guys, I've got to go, so I've got to be somewhere.
Right.
So
Yeah, good
All
points,
right.
Riley. Thanks
Out,
for joining.
I'd like to have a conversation with you some other time.
maybe.
Well, you can do it on my channel. I'll be moderator. But yeah, if
Fine.
you want to respond to that, he made some very solid points there. So
Well, his source that he cited literally says
Wikipedia.
right, but he cited it, and it literally says it's the apparent. There's specific gravity and apparent specific gravity. Specific gravity is the
Apparent
ratio of the...
specific gravity? What?
That's what the text says, Arwen.
What the...
It says it defines specific gravity is the ratio of the density of a substance to its reference substance. Apparent specific gravity is the ratio of the weight of a volume of a substance to an equal volume of the reference substance. So it's giving you two definitions for two things that they're talking about.
Right, yeah, I get it. It's more presuppositional extrapolation upon the concept and consequences of the suggested function of gravity.
They're just giving you
hilarious.
definitions.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a definition. It's a scientific concept or a word.
No, it's
and
not scientific.
It has been
It's
suggested that this
speculative.
article be merged.
It's all speculative. But I get it.
No, this-
I understand what it is. It's like a math equation that
Yeah, that's
can
not
be
speculation.
reused. No, that is.
No, it's not.
But it's not physical. It's not physical science. It's extrapolation.
It's literally physical
No,
science.
it's
This is literally
speculation
physics.
about physical sciences because there is
It's not-
there is no foundation in science. There is no scientific method that can be applied. You know this all too well.
No, this is completely supported by experimental evidence.
Yeah, but not using the scientific experiment.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
I mean, this is something kids do in high school.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you can. That's
it's-
pretend
it's-
science. That is pseudoscience. That doesn't abide to the
Doing-
actual scientific method. You know this.
No, that's,
Yes.
you're just wrong.
No, it's not
Doing
wrong.
doing experiments is science.
Yeah, but an experiment requires a certain setup, a certain
Yeah.
set of things, like an independent variable being the cause,
Yeah, yeah.
and that has to be what you're trying to prove, basically. So, gravity. Where is the gravity as the independent variable in the experiment to prove gravity, Brenda?
Gravity isn't the independent variable.
Well, then
of
it's
this.
not an experiment to prove gravity, Brenda.
Well, no, of course not. It's an experiment to demonstrate specific gravity, not not gravity. It's an experiment to show relative density. So you show that if you vary the density of an object or of the reference material, you get different results.
Yeah, but it's all
That's how science
extrapolation on
works.
unproven pseudoscience, Brenda.
No, it's
Yes,
not.
it is pseudoscience because the core foundation of it, what it's all deduced from, gravity, is not proven scientifically. And you even
Well,
just
yes,
admitted
yes, it is.
that gravity is not actually the independent variable in any experiment to prove gravity, which should be the first thing you do when you actually claim that all these extrapolations and all these deductions based on gravity are supposedly scientifically proven if your core fundament is not proven, Brenda.
Well, specific gravity isn't trying to prove the existence
It's
of
based
gravity.
on gravity, on the assumption
Yes,
of
I know.
gravity. Yes, so where's the proof of it?
Well, that's how science works.
No,
We
that's
build
not. That's how pseudoscience works. That's how speculation works.
No, that's not true. Science
Yes.
works by building. Arwen, just calm down.
No, I
Don't get-
am calm.
don't-
I am calm enough.
Okay,
No,
okay.
but I'm pissed off by your red herrings. You're making false claims.
No, science works by building on past knowledge.
That's a description. That's not actually the core function. That's not the hardcore situation. It's yet another story to put over it to make
Yes,
it look
yes.
nice. It's not actually the content of it. The content
Yes,
is
well-
the experiment with the independent variable being the cause of the thing you're trying to prove.
I'm aware of that. In specific gravity, we're not trying to prove the
Yeah,
existence
but
of
it
gravity.
it is based on
Yes,
gravity.
because we
so
already
if you make a
know-
theory, right, a complex
built on-
hypothesis, as it's called officially, an expanded theory, a complex hypothesis, then every element of that complex hypothesis, in order to be valid, has to be proven scientifically. Thus, gravity, because that is part of the origins of it. You have to prove it first, otherwise it is pseudoscience. Brenda.
Science is built on past knowledge, and we know that gravity exists.
It's not built on past knowledge, it's built on scientifically proven fact, Brenda.
Yeah, and once you prove
Not
a fact,
just
then
knowledge.
you can use that to prove other facts.
Right, so prove all the facts involved.
Yeah. Gravity is well known, well proven
Oh,
within
really?
science.
So give me your
Yes, it
scientific
is.
hypothesis for gravity.
That mass attracts mass.
Really?
That's the hypothesis.
Okay.
That what
So what
causes
is your
things
independent variable?
What causes things, the mass of the objects.
Please answer the question. What is your independent variable? Because you gave a
mass.
hypothesis, right? So what is the independent variable?
The mass of the objects.
Right. So okay, goody. You prove, or well, you're trying to prove that mass is the cause of
No.
some apparent
Gravity.
force.
Gravity is a cause.
No, but then you can't use mass as your independent variable, Brenda.
Sure you can.
No, that's not how a scientific hypothesis works.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
So we have the theory, right, that there is a force that acts on objects to pull them to the ground on Earth here, right? That's the theory. There's a force acting on objects with mass.
That's the story. It's not even a theory, really. Because
It's a hypothesis.
really, so why isn't the independent variable gravity, Brenda? If it is a supposed
doesn't
scientific
have to be.
hypothesis. Yeah, it does.
No,
Yes,
it doesn't have to
it
be.
does, Brenda.
Well,
That's
you're
that's
misunderstanding.
what. No,
you're
that's not a
how
misunderstanding.
science
That's
works.
not a misunderstanding. That's how it works.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. Show me. Show me specifically where that supposedly is not the case. And don't not some stupid blog or something. For something like this, I want university-cited sources, please. Take your time. You know what? You're never gonna be able to get that right away here, so take your time. Take a week. Gather that proof. That the scientific method no longer requires you to actually use the independent variable as the thing you're trying to prove. You go and find that evidence, that cited evidence. And we'll talk further about this, okay?
Yeah, it's right here. It's right here. Scientific method is you make an observation.
No,
you
no,
ask
no,
a
no, no, no.
question.
Show, don't tell. I want to see it.
I
and
am.
want.
I'm sharing the screen.
I'm not seeing it.
I don't know what else to tell you. I'm sharing the screen.
No, I'm not seeing it. So. Hold on. Let's see. What's going on? This is weird. Okay, I'm gonna call you back. Let's try again. Okay?
All right.
All right. Okay, please try again.
How science works.
Oh God, I knew it.
You asked for a university. Is the University of Berkeley not good for you?
No, I'm just looking at the images. Sorry, it's...
It says ask a question,
Yeah.
formulate a hypothesis,
Hold on, let me
perform
check it out.
experiments, collect data, draw conclusions.
Berkeley, where this is in America?
Yes,
Is this...
University of Berkeley of Southern California, University of
Okay.
of Southern
Brenda,
California at Berkeley.
Yeah. Okay, Brenda, if you would please put a link to that website in the chat of... you could do it in the Skype chat, preferably, because then it's the quickest, or in the general chat. It should work. Then I can take a look myself. Right. Okay, let's see. Wow. Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the sources. Immediately look in the sources. And this seemed to be focused a lot on biological and environmental sciences. So I don't really...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
The
that's
biology
that explains.
and evolution are sciences, yes.
It explains, because that's a different field. It's not physics.
No, it's
biology
it's not,
and environment, Brenda.
but what they share in common is the scientific method.
Yeah, I know, but it's
So
a
it
little
doesn't
bit
matter.
more complex to really, because it is so complex nature that it's just brutally hard to just abide in that specific case. But it's all dealing with tested things, though. It's just a
Yeah,
little bit more
science is
fluid than
complicated.
with regular physics and chemistry. But that explains the misconstruency, because it's not really about physics here. Now, is it, Brenda?
No, we're talking about the scientific method, not physics.
Yeah,
here.
well, it's the scientific method again in another context.
Yeah, so what?
So what? Well, you're on purpose miscontextualizing it. You're taking a word from another field and
Yeah.
then strawmanning me with it and everyone else.
No, it's just
You're
what they
trying
have in
wizardry
common.
on me. That's very devious of you. It's very dishonest that you're doing that.
No, Arwen, it's
Yes.
just what they have in
It's
common.
dishonest
It
of
is-
you.
It's not. It's
It
what they
is.
have in common.
It is very dishonest of you.
No, it's not.
Yes,
Arwen.
it is.
What does biology, chemistry, physics, and all the other sciences have in common? What do they have in common?
They deal in the physical and natural world.
Correct. And what method do they share in common?
Not a lot. But
Well,
that's because biology usually works with statistical things rather than very specific cause relationships like physics.
physics uses statistics also.
Yeah, it does use it as a side note, but the real foundation of physics is the scientific method.
Well, that's the same for for chemistry too.
But that's because it actually totally works with chemistry.
Well, sure
It
it
is
does, and
fully
works
compliant.
with other
Chemistry
things.
is basically probably the motivation to even erect the concept of the scientific method, because it legitimized it and brought it out of the weird wizardry and witchcraft sector. Was very convenient. gave a foundation for chemistry. That's probably one of the reasons they put it forward. And it is very solid in its scientific foundations. Biology, however, is a much more complex field, and it is very much up for debate, even on the high tech. Many approaches. There's many different approaches to it. It's just too complex, really, to truly approach it scientifically.
What's up for debate in biology? Don't you think that you have a biology, that you have
of course I do.
Hearts, lungs, muscles, nerve tissue?
Yes, but what is ascribed to those organs and everything it does is incomplete. There's much more going on than just the allopathic medical functions that are prescribed.
We're not talking about medicine. We're talking about biology.
Yeah, but that is what officially biology deals with in. Otherwise, you're going to go into psychology. Spirituality is thoroughly denied scientifically.
Biology doesn't deal specifically with medicine. Medicine is an application of biology.
Yes.
Right. So biology is about all living things.
Right.
Medicine is about what's good or healthy for humans, typically. Yeah.
Huh.
Well,
based on
typically,
certain philosophies and approaches, yeah.
Yeah, based on the idea that people don't want to be sick.
Well, allopathic medicine is mostly based on the concept of just fighting the symptoms and not being kind of reckless and hasty at it.
Not the cause?
Well, that's usually what it turns out to become. Unless things are helped easily.
Medicine is about combating the cause of illness.
No, it's about battling symptoms.
Symptoms are created by a cause, right? If you have an infection, the cause is the bacteria or the virus.
Well, that's that is already where things get a lot more complex, because sometimes infections are not bacterial, metabolic.
What other things could an infection be caused?
Metabolic. Look into terminal medicine.
Metabolism doesn't have anything to do with an infection.
It does. Your system. There's like trauma, cyclical responses. It happens. It can be classified as psychosomatic, but it is really physical in a sense. But it has to do with responses to situations and pressure and all that.
Yeah, but we're talking about an infection, not like, say, the responses of the body to a cold virus.
But it doesn't have to be bacterial, really.
Yeah, it can also be viruses, yes.
No, rarely. Viruses don't just normally cause infections like that.
That's what a cold is, Arwen.
No, absolutely not.
Colds are caused by viruses.
No, that's bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Colds are purely psychosomatic. It's like a curse. It's a make-believe disease.
Colds are curses?
No, it's a psychosomatic effect. It's triggered by the belief that it is sickness, and it's triggered mostly by seeing other people sneeze and such. Reminds you of it, and then that triggers the process from initiating.
So colds are caused by other people seeing other people sneeze?
Yes, or them telling you.
Or them telling you. How do you know this? Have you done an experiment?
Yes.
No, you haven't done any
personal experiments. Yes, I have. Not scientific experiments, but just test and go. Actually, and now I don't get it. I've had people being sick around me, even in the preliminary stages when it's supposed to be infectious. I would know. I would feel the atmosphere. It's like an energy. It's like it's raw energy that's out of place. I can feel it. And I just defend myself against it. I harden, and I don't get it. And I can...
What do you mean?
I can interact, I can hold hands. Doesn't matter. I don't get it. I don't get the sickness. I don't get a cold.
What do you mean you harden?
I harden myself psychosomatically. I know.
Okay.
I know. I
So-
become conscious that it is psychosomatic, and I don't. I basically reject it.
So basically, you feel that you can will yourself not to become sick if somebody else has a cold in your presence.
Yes, and it works. I haven't
How-
had a
how do you
real
know?
cold for a long time.
Well, that might
Long,
be due
long,
to other
long
reasons.
time.
That might be because of other reasons.
Right? Maybe.
Right. It could
Maybe,
be.
yeah, maybe it might be other reasons, but this works,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna keep on trying it. And
So
when I'm old,
what you need to
when
do
I'm
is to
old,
isolate-
I will give testimony to what I've been doing. So that's what I'm gonna
Yeah,
do. And I've been
testimony
doing
isn't
it like
sci-
this
test-
for a long time now.
testimony isn't science. Anecdotes
I
are
don't
not
give a
science.
shit. And
So
other
you don't
people
care
don't
about
give a
you don't
shit
care
either.
about science. You don't care about science.
Biology is much more fluid than mainstream science community, pseudoscience community is portraying it to be.
Well, there's a lot of variation in science. That's correct. I agree with that.
It's no,
But it is.
no,
it
it's
is a
not
science.
scienced.
Yeah, of course. Well, science, biology is biology is the scientific study of life.
You can call
life
it a
pro- life
systematic
process.
study. It's not a scientific study. It's not,
Why not?
because things are too complex. You just test effects. You can't isolate all the variables, really.
Well,
You can
sure you
try,
Well, they do.
but there's always more things that never have been known, and constantly new elements are discovered. It's just maddening. And it's amazing
don't-
what you can do, absolutely, but it's just too complex to really be
I don't know what you mean by-
scientific, I think. I don't know.
I don't know what you mean by constantly new elements are being discovered. What is the
About
discovery?
organic function and everything
Oh,
that's
okay.
involved. It's just so complex.
Yeah,
Like
but
even just the discovery of the genetics, how epigenetics has such a huge impact, and it totally redefined
Yeah.
research, you know, suddenly make adaptation a thing, very serious thing. So
yeah, of course it is.
yeah,
That's just
so
part of
huge
biology.
development out of nowhere, and we believe
didn't
just
come
the
out of
genetics
nowhere.
was believed for decades,
Well,
right?
Epigenetics doesn't refute DNA.
No, the original DNA theory just didn't explain it. It was wrong, basically. They figured out, no, what we thought it wasn't. It's epigenetics. That's can make radical changes in a very short time span. And it's a very complex sub-genetic dance, basically, going on with
Yeah,
chemical
yes.
interactions and everything. And stress
Epigenetics
influences.
is a thing. Epigenetics is a thing, but DNA is also a thing. Epigenetics did not discredit DNA.
No, it doesn't totally discredit it, but it did definitely redefine it. And the foundational theories a lot. It totally recaused the division. It helped also spur, well, the whole new creation versus evolution debate. It definitely on its own caused it to come back up, because it just redefined genetics, which was originally
Well-
completely conceptualized based on the evolution theory, and that just doesn't seem to be the case with this new discovery. So there's up for debate, tying into everything else.
Yeah, epigenetics doesn't refute evolution.
Depends on the strain of
evolution
thinking.
is
Yes.
evolution is still a thing. It's still a fact.
No.
It's
No,
still
it's not.
it's still a fact
No,
of
it's not.
biology.
No, it's not. Adaptation is
What?
a fact. It's proven.
Yeah, that's evolution, honey.
No, that's
ev-
no. Again, you're doing it. Again, you twist the words. You're such
No,
a
I'm not.
deviant. Yes, you are. That's not evolution. That's actually adaptation. Evolution.
Adaptation.
What truly is the core foundation of the meaning of evolution is species into other species. Species is conceptual at that. It basically means one type of genetic group into a totally different type. And that doesn't
Yeah.
work. That's not how genetics work. Because if a specific genetic group starts to deviate, to mutate too far away from its original blueprint, and that's not how adaptation works, because it's mostly epigenetic. If it mutates too far, it becomes sterile per default or mad, destructive, and it cannot transmute in any fashion, even gradually, into another species. It's just totally unproven, unfounded. Historically unfounded, experimentally unfounded, even like with crossbreeding, it doesn't work. Never works. Evolution theory, species to species, is totally unproven. Adaptation is proven.
Well, that's just not true.
It is true. Yes, that is the facts. That is the facts, and the rest is speculation and belief.
No. So DNA is still the foundation of biology, the foundation of evolutionary theory. Epigenetics is a part of evolution. It's a part of genetics. It's a part of how animals and organisms adapt to their environment. But adaptation simply is evolution. That's what it is.
No, it's adaptation.
Adaptation is evolution.
It's a very narrow function. It's
not.
It's switchable. And genetic mutation is not. It's a one-way direction that can go in many branching directions, but it's always one way. It's very distinct difference.
No, there's
there's
not much
if
difference.
something genetically mutates, not adapts through epigenetic, if it mutates, it's one direction. It doesn't mutate back normally, unless it's replaced by a more pure strand, as it were, that just replaces the mutation, because that happens. So even disproving evolution more, because actual mutations are displaced, are replaced. They don't get chance to survive naturally.
Actually, they do.
No, they don't.
Can. Yeah, they can.
No.
Yes, you're just wrong.
No.
That's
just
what
the consequence. No,
epigenetics
genetic mutations die out.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
That's just wrong.
Yes, they do. If they're brought together with original species, then their weaker extract of their genetics will just be replaced. It will be outdone by the more pure, original, raw brand. That's how it works. That's even how it works in breeding with animals. Yeah.
No, it's just not true.
It is true. It is freaking true. I know how it works.
No, it's not.
Yes,
you don't know. You don't understand it.
The more tweaked a breed becomes, the more easily disrupted and mutated that type becomes. That's how it works with breeding. And then you get like this epitome period where you just get a breed to be perfect in its example, and then eventually that period it doesn't work anymore, and they start to become weird. The offspring.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
This
but
is
the
experience. This is
fact
experience reference. Okay, my stepmom happens to be into like specific types of dogs, so she has a lot of stories about that. From
that's called
artificial.
That's artificial selection, right?
Right. Exactly. That's dog breed. That's breeding. That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
With breeding. That's where that happens. That's where it all narrows down and they become feeble. Just like presumed with the evolution theory, how mutation works. It gets replaced. If there's just one of the old type of species that is not so pushed into a corner, that gets a chance to breed with a lot of these newer, more specific types within that gene spectrum, the more specific types will just be outdone. They will be outweighed by the raw original, the more original print genetically.
Well, that happens, but that
it always exactly.
No,
it
that's
happens.
not true.
So how can that? How does a mutation have more chance in the face of the original species to become dominant? It doesn't.
I can explain it to you.
Oh, really?
Right?
I'd like to hear
Yes. Well, take for example peppered moths, right? Which before the Industrial Revolution were white and were on the bark of birch trees, and being white on white, right? They survived because birds wanted to eat them. And with the Industrial Revolution, soot was deposited on the barks of trees, making them darker and making white moths stand out. And there were mutations that made some of the population darker so they could blend in with the now dark bark of the trees. They did not get eaten by birds, and the original population of white peppered moths would get eaten. And so the population survived because of a mutation which allowed them to adapt to their surroundings.
A mutation. Are you sure? It's not an adaptation? Because that typically sounds like an adaptation, as in a rushed things when suddenly everything changed. That's exactly down the lane of adaptation. That's not going to be a genetic mutation.
All mutations, all adaptations are mutations.
Epigenetic switches.
No, that's
Yes.
genetics.
No,
That's
it's
genetics. That's
epigenetics,
genetic.
specifically epigenetics, not genetic mutation.
Yes, they're the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing. One is an inner switch, it can switch back. Genetic mutation, regular genetic mutation, DNA mutation, cannot.
Yeah, that's all part,
Epigenetic
except that
switches can switch. That's why it's called a switch.
it's still
Go
DNA.
back, can go forth,
It's
can
still
go back.
it's DNA.
It's part of
and-
the
and
DNA,
it's-
yes, but that's not classified as genetic mutation, Brenda. Stop making
Yes,
a
it
mess of
actually
this.
is. That's not true.
It is true.
Epigenetics
It is
a
true.
mutation. Changes in epigenetic information are mutations. That's what they are.
Right. Sure they are. But the thing about epigenetics is they can switch back. So it's not really a mutation. It's a switch. It's adaptation.
No, they're the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing. Again, genetic mutation is one way. There's a total change. Doesn't
No,
change back. That's how it is defined even in the evolution theory, Brenda. Are you paying attention here?
Epigenetics is a difference in how the DNA is expressed in the organism,
I know.
right? So it still has to do with the DNA,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
So when the peppered moths had a mutation
It's not a
that
mutation,
caused some of
Brenda.
them, yes, it
No,
is.
it's not a mutation. That doesn't work that way. That's called adaptation. I'll bet you that same moss could switch back. Bet you.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Well, there you go. That's not a one. That's not mutation. Mutation.
Yes.
Real mutation is one way.
No, that's not true.
That's like genetic damage-based mutation. It's one way.
Arwen, a mutation is simply a change in the genetic information. That's all it is.
Okay. Well, maybe this is just semantics. I'm gonna look it up. Come on, Wikipedia. Right. Exactly what I said. In biology, a mutation is the alteration of the nucleotide sequence. Yes. And that
Yeah,
is
that's
not
what I said.
that is not epigenetics.
I know. Epigenetics is the change in how it's expressed. You can have mutations that never get expressed.
This is ridiculous. I'm sick of this. I'm gonna round out the show. You're wasting my time. You're totally
No, I
yes,
think-
you
I
are
think-
totally. You're doing the same thing as the whole bullshit with the Coriolis effect, with the freaking
No.
atmosphere
I-
bullshit. Some weird dual thinking. It's not the same thing. Even this here just proves it.
Well, personally, Arwen, I think this was a productive
Yeah,
conversation.
it was, but it's getting kind of ridiculous at the end here because you're making
You're
very
getting
ridiculous
tired.
claims. I'm not
That's
tired.
fine. That's fine. You're getting frustrated. That's fine.
Yeah,
It's
I'm getting
okay.
frustrated with your weird attitude.
Well, everything I've said has been true.
No, it's not
You've
true.
shown it is.
No, I proved it to you in detail and to the audience.
As you wish. I mean,
Indeed.
whatever. I think people can judge for themselves. I'm
Yeah,
fine
and
with
they
that.
will. They damn well will,
Right.
Brenda. So, but anyway,
Mutations?
yeah, let's finish this. I'm gonna round this out.
Mutations result from changes in the structure of a gene. That's what they are. And epigenetics is changes in how that genetic information is expressed in the organism, in its phenotype, as opposed to the genotype.
Mutations result from errors during DNA replication.
That's one way they can happen.
But
Yes,
that's
there's
exactly
other
what it
ways.
says right here in the definition of mutation.
Yeah, that's one way that mutations can happen. There are other ways.
Yeah. Well, it's not defined here under genetic mutation. I don't see any references to epigenetics at all.
Well, that's because
At all?
they. Yes, of course. Why would they?
Well, because you claim it's pretty much the same thing. That epigenetics falls under mutation. That is a mutation. Well, I clearly state that it is not. And Wikipedia seems to confirm this. So, let's go to epigenetics. Right. Epigenetics is a study of the heritable phenotype changes that do not involve alterations in the DNA sequence.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what. That's what I've been saying.
No. And this is where it ends, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick. Sick of this shit.